Alright, so A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is a movie that stars Tom Hanks and stars another guy that is... He's another guy. He's another guy. I don't particularly know him, but the dude works in this movie. The dude's great in this movie. This movie is based on, or at least it's inspired by events or a magazine that was created by Lloyd Vogel, and it's about Fred Rogers. I had never heard of Fred Rogers before in my life until I watched this movie. This movie is... The only way to describe this movie is brilliant. Like it's effective. There is a scene where Lloyd Vogel is talking to Fred Rogers. He's just sitting there talking to him, and he Fred Rogers, he pulls out a stuffed toy, and he just starts talking. And I was like, did you ever have a special friend, like as a kid, like a stuffed toy, like as a kid? I was sitting there just like in the movie theater, thinking to my literally just talking it over myself, and I was like, yeah, of course I had a stuffed toy. I was like, I missed that toy. And then when the scene ended and it just changed back to it changed to the next scene, I was like, holy shit, I'm still watching a movie. The movie literally transitioned me into the scene as if I was actually physically talking to Fred Rogers. That is effective. Hang up your hats. Put your cloaks away. Hang up your hats. Go home. You've done your job. That was brilliant. Maybe that's just just telling me that I really need to go to therapy or something like that. Maybe I do. But anyway, it's still an effective movie. It's a brilliant movie. I couldn't believe how effective this movie is. Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers. I don't think I've ever seen better casting ever, and this is from a person that I've never heard of before, and I totally should have. I'm actually almost appalled that I haven't, because Fred Rogers, if you don't know, is a guy. He was a TV show host. He was literally the most positive human being you could ever have heard of, and he did it. He did it all He basically did his entire show for children to grow past their fears, to grow past their anxieties, to grow up and actually be inspired to talk about what they're doing. That dude is effective. And this movie being inspired by real events, or a magazine about real events, initially, I thought that this movie was going to be a Fred Rogers biopic or something like that. It's Fred Rogers all around. It's not really. I mean, he is a part of the movie, and he's a key part of the movie, but he's not the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie is Lloyd Vogel, the guy that Fred Rogers is trying to help, and it's a brilliant movie. But there are flaws in this movie, because being focused more on Lloyd Vogel's character more than Fred Rogers' character, it does bring in some other elements that I didn't feel worked as well as they wanted to. For example, his wife, the dude's wife. There was a scenario about the midway part of the movie, and they were just talking. They were starting to have this argument, and I was like, this is just. Okay, this is just okay. An argument. Can we get back to Fred Rogers, please? And those kinds of things, they do tend to weigh on the viewer, because if you're sitting there watching it, you're expecting a thing about Fred Rogers, then it does bring you back, and you're just like, come on, let's get back to Fred Rogers, please. And then once you get back to him, it's such an effective movie that. It takes you out of the movie theater and puts you into the movie. It puts you into the character's position and makes you think about things in your own life. Like, it actually it has moments where I felt like I wasn't even in the movie theater. I was in the actual movie talking to Fred Rogers. So it was like he was helping me through. I'm saying like a lot. What the. It was as if he was helping me personally out of some shitty situations. Like, I'm not particularly in a shitty situation at the moment, but it still felt like it was like helping me through it. I said like again, and you can tell that this movie illustrates how good of a person Fred Rogers actually is. Like the initial thought of the movie is like Floyd Logal's character. He's profiling Fred Rogers, and he's trying to make he's making a not a biopic, a profile about him, like his character. Is he good? Is he bad? Is it all an act, or is it just one big facade, or is he actually that good? And this movie does a great job at illustrating that even somebody like Fred Rogers, who is probably one of the most influential people for children back in when he was still around, it does a great job at illustrating that even he is damaged. He's a person like all of us. Like people would have been like he's like Fred Rogers. He's the big guy. He's the most positive human being. But that's not. But it is him. But he's damaged. He has that damage, and he uses that damage to help other people. He uses his experience to give other people a way to get out of those experiences, to overcome those traumas, those anxieties. It's such a great movie. It does bring it back a little bit with the wife element, maybe a bit of the family element, because there were some characters where it's like these people they serve really no purpose of the movie, and then they turn up like a couple times, but they're enjoyable for the movie, and it's an enjoyable movie. And I will say that this movie is worth watching with most of your attention. And I will say that this guy, that Fred Rogers is probably, well, Tom Hanks. I imagine that it's also Fred Rogers' words, but his words are actually, they're quotable. Something that I would have written on my tombstone. Like there's one particular that I can think of right now where he's like where Floyd is like asking him, is like, do you consider yourself famous? He's like, fame is just a 4-letter word, like face and something like that. It doesn't matter about the word, it just matters what you do with the word. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the dude, he has such an insight of words that it's just like it's beautiful. There was also another one. It will speak to vegans all around the world, where he's like eating broccoli, or he's having lunch and he's having vegan food, and then Lloyd is like, don't you, are you a vegetarian as well? He's just like, I don't believe in eating something that had a mother. I was like, that is, whoa. All right. So what? So have you seen this movie? Did you enjoy this movie? Did the movie pull you into the movie like it did with me? Comment below. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.